Bom dia. Waiting for my friend Mary. Hi, Peter. How are you? Oh, my niece. Hi,
Hi,
Mary. Hi.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
Good. It's so nice to see your face.
Oh, likewise. I had already so many adventures this morning.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the gas on the car I'm driving, like it's an old car. So I don't know how much gas it has, so we just run out of gas. So that was the adventure. Hi everyone. Look, Peter's here.
Hello.
He's our
Oh,
friend.
hi, Pete.
Everybody. So, I
Yeah.
hope more people will join us, but we can, they're welcome to join us, to leave. We know everybody has stuff to do. Um, how do you want to start this conversation, Mary?
Well, I've been thinking a lot in the past few weeks about just like in terms of things I'm working on with clients and things for myself. And a lot of what I'm hearing lately is around getting our needs met. And I think especially like in
Mhm.
time where things are so unstable and things are ever constantly changing and our responsibilities change as well. Like oftentimes we don't stop to really think about what we need ourselves and how to sort of like keep going. So I thought it'd be
I stopped hearing you. I don't know if it's just me.
oh, can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, cool. So I thought this was a really cool conversation to bring with like you and talking about women and their needs and also just like what you see in it because I know that we both have different experiences around this topic.
Yes. And of course, let's include men because, Pete is here and I'm sure there are more men here. We all have needs, right? I think about women sometimes um, we put others' needs first before than ourselves. At least I can talk for myself and from the experience I have, with clients as well. Um, we just like usually stop to ask for what we need when we are like starving or like we're desperate, and then we're like yelling and I need this, I need that. So it comes from a place of like complain, blame, and then it turns into a fight, and it doesn't have to be this way, right?
Yeah. And I think what is interesting for me is like what is so hard asking.
Oh, I stopped hearing you again. I don't
Oh
know
no,
why.
now?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, for me it's just like what makes the conversation hard? Like what's hard about asking ourselves, what do we need right now and how do we get it? And I think part of it is like we're not used to asking that question. And then I also
Mm-hmm.
part of it is that we feel selfish. Like there's this guilt that we're doing something wrong or that we're being selfish because we have needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Yeah. So if we're like, if I'm being more specific, like in my life, like what are my needs right now? Because it's like I said, it's so easy to look, and I'm a mother, so there are many people that I need to fulfill their needs, like my husband, my kid, my family has like expectations and needs. And so if I'm looking like, what are my needs? What do I need today? Um, I feel like with that practice that we went through the same training program to become a coach, and I think we were used to think quite a lot about that, like what do we need, to be here, what we need to be present, what do I need to start a powerful day. I got into this practice of like every morning, like checking like what do I want to accomplish this day. And not like from a place like before, it was from a place like I have to do all of this, right? Like I have this to-do list, like, oh, I need to cook, I have clients, I have to study, or all the things that are on my list. But now, apart from that to-do list, is more of like what I really want to happen today, that it will be, extraordinary, that will be moving me towards, my purpose here. So I think that for me, it already gave me like that sense of like, you know, presence in my day, like what are the things that I want to accomplish today, and then I declare them. Like today, I declared I want to have like a conversation with you that will impact, my life and others as well, to motivate. Juanita, oh my God, my friend Sandra. Oh, it's nice to see Juanita here. Yeah, so sometimes I feel like I have a lot of needs. Do you feel that way?
It's funny that because I think for me, it's like I don't even get to that point because I'm making myself wrong even before I ask. I'm like, oh no, that's too selfish. I can't ask for that. No, I'm letting other people down if I do that. So I don't even get to like checking into what I need because I'm so busy making myself wrong. Like I can't. Okay.
Mm, okay. I mean, I was gonna start coaching you here. I'm like, and what do you get from making yourself wrong? That's not the purpose. You don't have a coaching request. No, but I get where you're saying.
People do that though. It's not just like me, a lot of us don't even check in because we're like, oh, we can't worry about ourselves right now because other people have needs. Like I have to take care of the fires there before I can take care of myself. And if I
Oh
take care
yeah.
of myself, then I'm letting other people down. When in fact, that's not the way it works, right? The more that we take care of ourselves, the more that we are actually present in the other conversations. So, but our mind does this little funny thing where it like likes to tell you that it's a fight or it's a struggle.
Mm, yes. Yes. Well, I agree with you. I think like, yeah. Um, but that's not a good place to come from, right? It's like, okay, if I'm not asking for my needs, we all get to a place, or at least I get to a place, like if I don't get my needs met, I get to a place that I'm annoyed. I just want to like give up, I get burned out. And another thing I noticed about myself is that, like, I've been working on changing that with my coach as well, is that like, I think about like, oh, the world, and then others, like what the world need right now, and everything that is happening, the COVID, the racism that always happened, but there is something really happening now to change that. And so sometimes I think about like all these things, and then like last is like, what are my needs? Like I need money, right? I need to like have clients to pay my bills, so I can't be thinking about everybody else here if I'm not taking care of like my basic needs first. And that has made a huge difference, because I would put like, first the world, and then my family, and then last me. Because it's okay, I can survive, I can live with little and all of that. But like shifting this perspective to actually like getting my needs met first, like taking care of my well-being, and that includes like even the financial, right? All aspects of well-being. Then, then I can take care of the world. Then I can take care of my family. That is just like changing the diagram. Let's see.
But you just said, who am I to have needs? I know, right? Like, who are we? And the thing is, it starts with us so that we can then provide more. Because if we do it, like if we start with others, it's totally fine and there's nothing wrong with that. We're focusing on the world or others or our families. But then we're left drained and with less bandwidth, and we run out, we dry out, like we burn out, like you said, Shyla. But if we actually start with ourselves, imagine how much more fun and empowering that is, because our bandwidth, our cup is actually full and we have more capacity to be with the people that we love and to provide for others. So
Mm-hmm.
there's actually a lot of wealth and power in just focusing on ourselves. And like, especially now, I think the way that we take care of ourselves has to be even at a higher level because of all the external factors that are playing, like all the stressors, COVID, racism, and all the conversations that we're in.
That's right. Yeah, because we can get like even like more deep lost into the whole, problems that the problems that are happening in the world.
Yeah, it causes a lot of
So yeah.
thinking about our
Hmm?
health. Thinking about our health and our well-being is stressful. Thinking that we might get COVID or someone we love might get sick from something like that is really stressful. Or thinking about the impact of race and discrimination on our own lives is also really stressful. All these things are, a lot of stress factors that go along with work situations and people aren't working right now. So it's like, especially right now, I think it's really important for us to focus on ourselves and what we need in order to be able to be with everything else in a safe and healthy,
Hmm.
like what
Hmm.
to be able to go out and work or find work or be with our families or bring joy and bring light to ourselves.
Hmm. And what do you do, Mary,
For me,
to get your needs met?
yeah, so for me it's a few things. For me it's like one, creating space for myself because I need to be alone sometimes, just to be with myself, just to meditate, just to think. Definitely I love taking walks because it keeps me active, and it's a way of clearing. So I need to do that too. Those things are really important for me, and those things are
Hmm.
really. And the case is like for me, I do need something creative. So whether it's conversations like with you or something artistic, there's a creative aspect of me that needs to be fed. So I know that those are definitely it. Um, and I think
Hmm.
as time goes by, they change based on what's going on. What about you? What are some of your practices?
To get my needs. As you were saying, I was like, yeah, I mean, I do those things as well, and like some variety of them, and like I don't know if that goes along with the conversation, but it's like, okay, it's easy when it's up to me to get my needs met, like okay, my well-being, all of that. But like when I need my husband to meet some of my needs, right? So then for me it gets complicated because I mean, it's just like okay, it's easier for me. Okay, I'll plan my morning routine, I'll plan my well-being, what I will do for that. But then when I'm planning with him, it just gets more complicated. So I mean, we're working on that. It's like to get our needs met from each other. So there's another level of like getting your needs met, because it's if it's up to you, then like, yes, if you don't do it, that's it's on you. But then when you're like with a partner, you know then it gets a another level. That's what came to my mind when you were saying that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool because I think it's beautiful for two reasons. One is like looking at yourself and what you need, not just for yourself, but for your partnership as well. And then like so taking responsibility and ownership around that. And then also I think it's beautiful that you're having an open conversation with your partner around it. Like this is what I need and what do you need, you know? Because a lot of people, a lot of
Mhm.
partnerships don't do that, don't know how to have this conversation. So I think it's awesome
Mhm.
able to have it and able to hear each other in that way.
Yes, yes. And be patient with the process, because like I said, it's if it was up to me, like a lot of like the message that I've been getting from the universe is like my masculine energy is more into action now, like, so that's why I'm doing all these things. I feel like this time in the pandemic was like a push for me in my life, because all the things that I wanted to do and I was waiting for something, and now I'm like, I will do all of this now, and it's working. But then like there is like part like with in my relationship that is like we're not, the energy is like kind of unbalanced, I feel. So what I need is to be patient with the process, like you acknowledge, like the first step I took, which is like to have an open conversation, so we both are aligned to where we're going in the relationship, because I feel relationships need to be reinvented all the time. at least for me. And that's where I tell myself I'm needy, because some people, they're content with, you know, the way it is, it's fine. And for me, I'm like, I need to change all the time. Even at the Pilates class yesterday, I told the Pilates teacher, I'm like, she gives like repetitions of 10 in the same leg. I'm like, oh, it's, you know, I like to change, you know, maybe we'll do like one leg and the other leg, or, you know, something. I need the change all the time. What do you say about that, Mary?
No, that's part of it, right? It's like we have needs, but we're like, oh, I can't do that because that makes me needy or selfish or whatever the thing is. Even if something as small as just, I need to change up the routine so I'm not bored. And that's part of like getting
Mm,
our needs. Kind of what I'm pointing to is that before we even like check in and say, yeah, I really do need this thing, we don't even get there because we judge ourselves for it. We make ourselves wrong. Oh, I'm too needy. I'm too selfish. Oh, I'm letting other people down. Um, like as
mhm,
thing that we need is actually wrong in some way, which
mm,
isn't. Like how much better would the class be if you could just say, actually, I need to change things up so I'm more engaged. So I'm just gonna switch
mhm.
legs for this routine. And then you're
Yeah,
creating in partnership with the instructor. Maybe some other people can value from that too. But often
right.
don't even get there. So I'm not gonna push through.
Survive through it, right? Or maybe not come back to the next class. But yeah, and like you know, what I got is like, okay, even yesterday I did it. I asked for what I needed, but then like there was a feeling of like making her wrong, or you know, I was wrong because I asked for it. Doesn't have to have any of that. It's just like, oh, this is what I need, you know, she can change it up. But I even said out loud, I'm like, oh, I'm too difficult, right? You know, a judgment about myself. And she was like, no, you're not at all. It's fine. I like that you tell me, you know, this is a small example of how we're, you know, not used to ask for what we need. I've been practicing that a lot. And, you know, another thing that it came to my mind is about asking for and giving, right? This is two things that we have difficulties to deal with. I just want to say hi to my friend Tamiris. Thank you for being here, and everybody else. Paola, mwah. Um, you know, I notice in my mom, because it's easier to see on other people, right? Our mirrors around the house. So I noticed my mom, when she never asked for anything, even when we offer, like, do you want a glass of water? She will say no, and then she will get up and get the water, you know? And then we say, why you did not accept? I offered, you know? She has such a hard time asking for anything, and that bothers me. And I tell her, and then once, you know, and sometimes I give her, I'm using my mom as example, but you know, I see that in myself as well. You know, I've been practicing more to ask people for what I need, you know, like maybe people will say, yeah, you already, you know, mastering that, because I've been asking everybody. I just asked my niece to take care of Dylan so Hugo could have a little time for himself as well, you know. Asking people all over. So, so you know, so I think I managed that part of asking, but giving as well, right? And giving with an open heart, like, you know, not giving and waiting for like an exchange. Oh yes, you know, I'm taking care of your son, then you're gonna give me this. Not that my niece is thinking that, but I'm just giving examples of how we operate in relationships, like, you know, so asking and giving, it should be like a easy and open heart, you know, not a transaction, not with expectation.
Yeah, I totally hear you because my mom also the same way. I mean, my mom will cater to everyone before she thinks she stops to take care of herself. And then you'll see that she needs something, but she won't ask for it. She's like, well, I guess if you didn't want to give it to me, then I wasn't going to ask. How were we supposed to know that it's that they ask for it? I see totally. And there's also a lot of, I think you talk about the transactions. It's like a really deep conversation because we're so used to relating to things as I give you this and then you'll get that without just like thinking that really there's actually no transaction in the relationship. Like that we're having this conversation is an open conversation, and we're in it because we both see something for ourselves and we both enjoy the partnership. It's not like a favor and then a favor back. And that's a relationship. I'll do this back to you. I'll watch the different on to do.
I keep stopping listening to you at some, like, I don't know if it's you or maybe I'm going to change location because it's windy here. Do you hear the wind?
I do, but I can still hear you okay.
Okay, so maybe it's the interfering, the wind is interfering with you speaking because I keep missing out some words and I don't want to miss anything. But I agree with you, like it's so good when you go do something for fun because you want to do, like I asked you, do you want to do a live with me, and you're like, yeah, sure. And it's not about like, yes, I'm going to get followers, yes, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. It's just like, I'm going to get your presence, I'm going to get some of your wisdom. And yes, I'm still looking to get something, but it's not exchange, it's more on like relating to each other on the same level. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, it's a partnership, right? And I mean, you tell me, because you work a lot more with relationships and everything, but do a lot of your client, especially when they're talking about romantic, do they relate to that as a transactional exchange? Like if I do you this thing, then I expect you to do this for me later? Or is that not something that you see?
Oh, yes, especially after you have kids, after you have kids is about there is a big theme, common theme with people with kids is like, because we have like time gets limited, and people are, me and my husband, we were like, okay, but I did this and oh, I did that, and it's never going to be totally balanced, like 50-50, right? And so even for each other, I do bring up this conversation a lot. I feel like, oh, I do more for the relationship, I'm always like doing this. But then if I really take a look from a responsible place, right? Not from a victim place. And I'm looking for what he's doing right, and I'm looking for what he's bringing to the relationship. Actually, I'm not doing all of, I'm not doing everything. It's just like a story again that we tell ourselves so we can feel better about ourselves. We can feel like above the other person. And so that's something that I've been practicing lately, especially after I talked to you about like paying attention to his love language, to my love language, and communicating through those lens, what does he need, what does he like, versus like, what do I want, what do I need? Because we were talking about getting our needs met, but it depends where you're coming from as well, right? Because if you're coming from like, I need this, and like, you do this for me, it doesn't work. It's a partnership, right? So we do for each other.
I think what I'm hearing from you in this is like stepping outside of the expectations. Like there's an act. So if we actually had this conversation, because look, you're in a marriage, you have children, there's a partnership, right? So there are some things that you're going to do and some things that your partner's going to do. But if you
Mm-hmm.
are outside of this is transactional, like I expect you to do this for me later, and vice versa,
Mm.
consider it, I'm going to do this as an act of love or as an act of partnership or as an act of collaboration, then there's the expectation kind of fades away and there's no attachment to it. So then it's like,
Mm.
I do it because this is an act of love. And then when you do something, it's also an act of love. And I feel like that takes you into a different space than I expect you to do that because I just spent like 3 hours with the kids. So now it's your turn, you know?
Yes, yes. Then yeah, then like the communication, right? Coming from that place of like, yeah, you gotta pay back. Then we know where that goes in the conversation. Like, oh yeah, but then I did that yesterday and you didn't do it, And it's useless people to bring back things that already happened. And some people live in that mode of like, I'm very present. I mean, sometimes I bring things from the past, but it's not really a habit of mine to be like, talking about things that happen, to use that for now, like so I can get, because that's manipulation, right? Right there. Like, oh, I'm gonna use that what happened so I can get what I want. And like I love what you said. Like it's so basic, but it's so good to remind ourselves, because if we're asking or if we're giving from a place of love, then all of those things, manipulation or expectations or, transaction, all of them dissolve, disappear,
Yeah. And then,
isn't it?
yeah, and I think that's a really cool place to kind of come back to our initial, like if we're actually looking at our needs from a place of love, like self-love and love for others, then how does that change that feeling of guilt or thinking that we're too selfish or too needy? If we're actually looking at this, like this is an act of love for myself, then how does that change the conversation and about what we need for that day, about what we need in the moment, about asking to change like a basic exercise routine?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a good way to, good lens to look through our needs and get them met, like, from a place of love and not from a place of like, I have to, oh my God, I have to do this, or, you know, um,
Selfish, other people come first, or whatever, whatever we tell ourselves because we think that it's not important. We think it's just too selfish of a request to focus on ourselves. But if we look at
yeah.
it all an act of love and an act of service, then maybe that gives us a different way to play this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my God, I love this. I love this topic.
Me too.
It makes me it makes me go even thinking deeper. I'm like, okay, what are really my needs? Like, there's always like a next level of intimacy that you can get with yourself.
Yeah, and just like think about even just like the basic things. I mean, yes, the basic everyday things, but think about how this conversation can serve you when you're asking for a promotion or a raise, or maybe you need to change jobs, or maybe it's a partnership. What do I partnership job? This conversation, how will it benefit my growth? Maybe that shifts the way that we ask, the way that we request things, and how open we are to actually giving and receiving.
Oh, wow. Yes, 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 yes. I tend to work with clients because we attract clients that are, similar to us, right? But I tend to work with clients that they are amazing, they're like great, but they don't see their value, right? So when it comes to part of like negotiating or asking for money, they're like, oh, I don't know if I can, or they buy into these stories of like the other person, or the circumstance of the world, and they don't like, even starting by like, what do I want, right? It's just like, it's that simple. What do I want? um
And like
Sometimes like,
giving yourself permission to actually see it, because sometimes we don't even we don't allow ourselves to actually see what we want. We're like, oh, we can't have that, it's too big, as if it doesn't matter,
mhm.
as if it's something like we're not capable of. So it's like if we live into that, breathe into it, see it, allow ourselves to experience it, maybe that's the first step.
Yes, and you know what, Mary, is coming to my mind is that me and you, we have, even though we're like from different countries, we have a lot of similarities, right, in our backgrounds. Like, we were both immigrants in US, and when you talk about your family, I think about like the way I was raised as well, to always, here where I'm from, people always say like, oh, even when it's a habit, right? They always say when they leave, "Oh, forgive me for anything." Like, I'm like, "What? We didn't do anything." But it's just like a polite thing to say, like, "Oh, excuse me if I did something wrong." No wonder I used to think everything I did was wrong, because that was so ingrained in me. But so to break up with those, to break through, or to break those patterns, like it takes a lot of like time investment, like
Yeah.
getting to know yourself. Because when I think back there, like first time my coach asked me this, like, what do you want? I would think like what I can have, right? Like what my family told me was possible. So to expand that to like what I really, really want, to be honest, like now I'm getting to like, oh, now I really, really want to do this. But before it was like, oh, I can't say that because I don't know how am I going to be that, right? You don't need to know how. Now I know that. Now I'm like, I don't need to know how. Like, I'm just asking myself what I want, and allowing myself to say that is already like a breakthrough.
Oh my God. Yeah, Shyla, I remember the first time a fellow coach asked me what I needed. I was like, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know. Can you rephrase it some because I was like, I don't know what it means. So now it's like when you ask me what I need, I'm like, oh yeah, I can check in. I can give myself permission. I can allow myself to actually check in and see what I need and see what I want and like start working towards it, even if I don't. But that's been a really big journey for me because most of my life it's been focused on externals. Like let's take care of everyone else before I take care of myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. My husband this morning, like he wanted. I'll share you a little story about what's happening now. People like to know our lives, right? I love knowing people's real stories. So this morning, well, he wanted to go for a little ride because we're in a beautiful space here in Brazil, but everybody gets tired to be in the same confinement. Even if your confinement is in a five-star hotel, eventually you're gonna get bored because we need to change. We don't like routine, right? Especially us because we're used to travel a lot. And so this morning we woke up early as usual, and he's like, "Let's go for a ride." And I heard like he's asking for something he needs, right? I have my agenda. I have all the other things that I want to work on, but then I thought, okay, I can give him 2 hours and we can go get, I can go give him what he needs. And then when we check the gas, because I told you this story, we can't see, the thermometer is broken, whatever. And then we check the gas, and I told him, I have a feeling we're not gonna have enough gas to get to where you want to get. So we changed direction. We went to the city to put gas and do other things. And I saw he was like, he's frustrated, and and he's annoying. He's frustrated. He's annoyed. He's not annoyed. He's annoyed. And then I'm like, all right, what do you need? He doesn't know, right? He's like, he doesn't even know he needs something, like, so he doesn't know. And but then of course I always like to come up with solutions, like, let's not stay in the problem. And then he said, like, I need to have some time to do my things on the computer, like, you're always working. He's taking care of Dylan right now. That's how it is.
Mhm.
That's what it is. And then that's when I asked my niece if she could watch Dylan for a couple hours, so he could get his time. I can hear him singing right now, working on the computer and being super happy. So, you know, and one thing that I have to work on myself, because I don't like these people to see people blaming or frustrated or irritated. But one thing that I evolved is to remove myself. He's not annoyed at me. He's not frustrated with me. It's his feelings about the situation, to, like, he's here in Brazil. We don't know when all the story, right? All the things that it's going on with him. So it's not about me. That's one thing for sure I can acknowledge now. But then when we got here, he kissed me and he said, thank you for, arranging, because what I want is that he thinks that himself, that he can reach out to my niece, that he could reach out to my mom, or that he could plan, this day I'm going to do this. But he's not me. And he has not gone through like a coaching training program. He doesn't have that self-awareness, that, not that I'm better or anything like that, but it just takes practice, right? To be checking with ourselves.
Yeah.
I can, okay.
You
Now I can hear you.
yeah. You know, you have more practice, you have different tools to have a different conversation, where other people who haven't worked with a coach and haven't been through a training program necessarily may not be as familiar with how to have this conversation in a way that makes sense, you know?
Look who is here, Solange.
Lunch.
Well, tell me about you, because I can't, I talk a lot, you know me.
Just sad because I think the awareness was amazing, right? It's just like, this is, hey, Solange, this is how we partner with someone else. It's like, what can I what can I hear that they need in this moment? And I think that's a beautiful partnership, Shyla, that you were able to just say, one, it's not about me. Like, I know it's not about me. And then two, say, what does my partner need in this moment? And what do I need? And how can we create that together? And I think that was beautiful. That. So, mm.
Thank you. So, so I know you've been through, like you mentioned in the beginning, you've been through you got some losses.
Yeah.
And how is that related to this conversation?
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question. And one that I've actually am in constant conversation in right now. Like, I've had a few close people pass away in the last few months, and experienced other losses as well. And I think for me, it's been taking a lot of time to be okay with taking time off. Like, I am the person who I like to work, and I've always worked. So for me, checking in with myself is actually being okay with giving myself time off to just be with the feelings and the grief and the emotions that are arising without making myself wrong for it, without saying, oh, but there are all these things that have to get done. So I think that's where I am in the conversation. And then also, I think the other piece of that is like really creating the support structures to keep me like well. Like, that's also part of my needs. Like, who do I need? Who do I need to talk to? What kind of friends do I need? Like, what's the conversations I want to be in? What are the conversations I can have and can't have? Because, as a coach, that everyone loves to talk about everything. And sometimes we're just not in the emotional space where we have the capacity to be with certain conversations. So for me, checking in, what conversation can I actually be in right now? And what conversation can't I be in right now? So it's like setting those boundaries for myself, in addition to like working with therapy, part of it, really focus on like every day checking in. Okay, how does this feel? How does that feel? And then if I'm like in an emotional upset, just giving myself the space to be okay with that. Like, it's okay to be in a corner and experience the loss and be with it, so as to let it go through it.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's like I hear you really, respecting your feelings and listening to them and giving your time like putting yourself first and give yourself time to heal. And I'm sure some days you don't get through your to-do list, but the priority is like to get you first.
Yeah, and being okay with that, like knowing that I have all these things that I want to get done in a day, and then being okay with just the way that the day went and calling it a success either way. I got my needs met. Did some time to like go cry in a corner or watch a sad movie or spend outside, by a tree. Whatever it is that I need in that moment. So as to heal, and be okay with it.
Yeah.
But it's not
And what
like, it's not something that I'm used to doing. Like, well, to be honest with you, it's really uncomfortable, especially for someone like me that just likes to go. It's uncomfortable to actually stop and check.
Yeah, I know you. You're a doer. Like, you do a lot of things and you take care of a lot of people in your life and you're always there. So that's good to hear that, sadly, like sometimes like situations put us, like the pandemic now, like what you're saying, like the in your personal experience, like losing people. Sometimes I see that too. Is like it feels like kind of like I'm forced to do this. You know, I had to work this in myself, but then I didn't do it for any reason, and then like something happens, and you kind of like, you know, it's your chance to do this in your life. This is now your chance to do it. I want to take a moment to say hi to my to Jay, who is here, Adriele and Joyce. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think actually why I love this conversation is because it has so many layers. I mean, look, we just covered work, relationships, grief and loss, and like all tied into this conversation of like that starts with, well, what do I need? And how do I respect that? And how do I honor myself? You know, what love do I need to show myself, give myself in this moment? And how that can actually impact all these other areas. Which I think is pretty cool.
Yes, it is. And you know, once we get our needs met, like you go back to do whatever you have to do, or you know, like your goals for the day or for the week. For me, it's like when I give myself space to stop, to recover, you know. Lucky now I don't get before I used to like work myself to the ground when I was like okay super tired, then I had to like, you know, shut down, go to sleep early, you know, because I was super tired. Now I kind of like maintain my, you know, well-being, and but once I feel like you said, you hear your feelings, and I feel like I don't know, today I'm feeling a little bit, you know, upset. I don't even know why. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to just go and watch a movie or go and, you know, for a walk or something like that. And then when I go back to do the things that is in my priority list, I just have so much more energy to do it. And it's not as hard because, you know, I feel like you fulfill your cup, right? Like, you know, like cell phones. I like to use this analogy because it's like, once you get your cell phone used to the battery and it gets addicted, you can charge your phone and it's just gonna last for like, you know, an hour, right? Because the cell phone got used to like being charged all the time. But once this is like us, right? If we are operating from a place of overwhelm, you can still do a lot of things because you're used to do that, you know. And some people even like that because they're like, oh, I can do a lot, and I can say that because I used to be that person. I'm like, wow, I can do all these things. But then it's like, does it serve me? Because then I get to that place of depleted or low battery quite often. Before I used to get to that place like all the time. And then now I'm like, oh, it's not worth it. It's not a good life, right? To be like, okay, I do all these things, but then I'm like depleted. All these things depleted. So bringing some balance to that.
Yeah,
Oh, my friend said she just exactly.
yourself, exactly. Yeah, totally. I mean, look, and a lot of us just function on top of emotions because we don't like to be with them. It's uncomfortable. And for some people, you know, emotions are bad or wrong in some way. They're not a good thing. They stop us from actually getting things done. But I think what ends up happening when you do that is that you just push all the feelings down, and then
Mm.
at some point they just explode. And it could be like a burst of anger. It could be like just uncontrollably crying, or it could be like an overwhelming anxiety. It's important, I think, to hear your feelings as you're feeling them, you know, to be with them, to see what it is that your feelings actually need in that space and in that moment, so as to take care of yourself better, so as to avoid getting to the place where all those feelings kind of just come out and just are uncontrollable or feel out of your power.
Yes, this is like managing your emotions and don't make them wrong, right? That's what make us a beautiful human being. I had a hard time with that, you know. My own, like most of my emotion was like joy. Still, I love joy; it's my favorite. But I had to learn to be with sadness. so I could be more joyful, you know. But oh, hi Angel. Yeah. And you know, talking about emotions, like it's just emotions is like the thermometer, right, for ourselves to check in with ourselves and see like what do I need if I'm feeling this way, you know, what brought up this, you know, this feeling, like to kind of like reflect. But also we can't let our emotions, you know, run the show, right, to be the commandant of our boat, because some people are very emotional. I can talk to myself. I am a very emotional person, and if I let my, like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, I'm sad, you know, or like, oh, I'm not feeling like, and then I wouldn't have, you know, changed my career, to be honest. You know, if I let my emotions keep running the show, I wouldn't have done many things in my life.
Yeah, I
So
think
I
that's
think, mm,
really cool, Shiloh. I think there are two things that are coming to me. One is that a lot of us relate to our emotions as things that stop us. You know, we're so overwhelmed by the feeling, by the sadness or the grief, that we're like, we're just going to stop now. And then, or this doesn't feel good, so I'm not going to do it. For example, I think a lot of people can relate to dieting. I really don't want to. I'd rather have the donut because it makes me feel good. And so we go for the easy thing, right? We go by our feelings and the emotions of it.
mm,
Um, and I think also, and so we've learned that emotions are not necessarily a good thing. They're not necessarily like something that is good. And so I think one part of the looking at, okay, how do we relate to our emotions? And how does that impact the way that we actually do things? Because I think there's also the other side of the conversation that says your emotions, you have to honor them and you have to feel them. And then what is a way that you can actually use your emotions to empower where you are, to like actually create something beautiful? I mean, how many poets didn't create
mm.
because they were feeling sad, you know? So
Yes, love
use
that.
that creates something beautiful and that honors yourself. But I think we're so used to looking at it through one lens, as in, oh, I don't feel good, so I'm not going to do it. So it's like, how do you shift
Mm-hmm.
that conversation? And I think more curious, like, how does that conversation relate to ourselves and to our needs and who we are, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Using the emotion to be, you know, responsible for what we want to, you know, where we want to head in life, wherever that is. Like, you know, is that aligned with the life that I want to live, you know? Because, yes, and it's good to, what I thought, like, you know, about needs, getting our needs met. um we can go even deeper in that, because it's like, okay, am I need are my needs aligned with the life that I, you know, desire? Because, okay, some needs, like eating a donut, is a need, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is that need, you know, does it support your goals? You know what I mean? And so,
Like,
because sometimes I need, or I desire things that if I choose that desire, it's not going to be, you know, serve my highest commitments in life. We
yeah,
talked about that the other day.
yeah, I think it's a really multifaceted conversation, you know, and I do think that there's a lot of power, like real power in our emotions too, especially as it
Mm-hmm.
like tuning in, our intuition, our spirituality. Like emotions are actually a beautiful thing and empower us to connect
Mm-hmm.
to other people. It's what makes us empathize, right? It's why I can be a coach and be in a conversation with different types of people. It's the emotional piece, the way that I connect and relate and can see you and can like feel you. Um, on the other side of that, it's like if we're using our emotions to actually sabotage ourselves from the things that we want, then that's the conversation that's like, okay, well, what is that about? What's the relationship there that has you in that space, creating that kind of path instead of one that's more empowering and true to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you said. Is like multifacets, right, of the conversation, because sometimes I operate from like a black and white. You know, it's either that or that. So, you know, like before I used to think like all my emotions. I wasn't really connected to them, even though I was very emotional and I let the emotions run my life, and would be like, oh, I'm not doing this or I'm not that, like complaining or regretting the things I wasn't doing because of my emotions. And then I learned like, okay, I don't have to let my emotions, interfere with my commitments. I can allow space to my emotions and have my and honor my commitments. But that's something like I always have to check in with myself, because it can be a either or conversation for me. Either I honor my emotions or I focus in my commitments. So it's always like searching for that balance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool because I think we relate to it as that. Like either I can focus on my emotions or I can focus on the things that I'm doing. And I'd love to see the conversation that has both of those working together. Like what does that actually look like to bring your emotions and empower them and also like create from that space, for the like integrate all of yourself into this. What does that look like?
Yes. Oh my God. What time is it? Let's see.
7:50.
50. We have 10 minutes, or we don't, it's not a rule, so we can finish whenever we want. But I just want to take time to really wrap up like powerful, because we, covered a lot of things. Some people came in and out. So what are the things that we're taking away from this conversation?
Oh, I mean, we covered so much in this like
Coaching session.
last chat. I think definitely like looking at this conversation as it relates to looking at our needs as it relates to what do we need without making ourselves wrong. I loved what you brought about the partnership, about like what your partnership looks like and the example of what happened this morning. I think that was just beautiful and it shows like how coaching can help create a different space. And then the last piece for me is just like, what does it look like to constantly ask yourself, if I were to integrate all these aspects of myself into this, into who I am, into my needs, the emotions, and work and relationships, what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, and I love what you shared, where you are in, because that's definitely a breakthrough. I know you for like a couple years now, and hearing you take time and space for yourself to heal, uh, that's beautiful. That is so much growth. um, yes, and I'm sure now you're judging yourself. I could be doing better. We can always do better. But let me give you this. I talk to a priest because I talk with a lot of people. I'm an open person. I talk to everyone. You want to talk to me? Yes, we can talk. I was having some problems with family, so I thought it's better to talk to a priest. So he told me something that I think, I hope you can get something for yourself. He's like, we are, as a human, we can see a lot, right? We can see all the places we can improve, all the things we can do better. You have like a big vision, but we are very limited in our like kind of like our time, right? We have 24 hours. Like what are like all the things we want to do and all the people we want to give attention to, so it's not in our capacity, human capacity, to do all the things we vision to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just for you to not, like right now we're just acknowledging, and thank you for acknowledging, because I was also judging myself. I'm like, yeah, the way I told you, it looks like very beautiful partnership. And the end of the story was beautiful. My husband thanked me because I saw what he needed, and you know, I asked and I arranged so he could have what he needs. But during the moment, of course, it doesn't come out all beautiful and nice. We're humans, and he's my husband. So I'm going to tell him, like, you're being annoyed, like, why are you being like, are you depressed? I asked him, are you depressed? He's like, no, I'm not depressed. So, so I just want to say that so everybody doesn't feel like, we know better and our life is perfect. It is a working process, right? Always. and always seeing new places, but also acknowledging that we are humans and we see a lot of things, but we're not going to take action in everything all the time.
Totally.
Hey, Adam, how are you? More people are joining.
I know. Oh.
Yeah, we gotta go, but we can come back.
Yeah, I, I love seeing you and I love talking to you. And also, the scenery around you looks beautiful. So, just for that.
Oh my God. And I love your light and your wisdom. And you don't have to change the way you are, because it's so good to have you, as you are, like a given person, like all connected with a lot of people. You have so much capacity in your heart and spirit to hold all of us. So thank you for, accepting my invitation. And I really look forward for another time we can connect and talk. There are a lot of people joining. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be saved on my page. Oh, Principessa. Is that for you? Yes.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, no, and like when we were doing like before we hopped on, I was thinking, have you seen that meme or that image, that GIF where it's like there are women who help you fix your crowns, and I don't know if
mm,
it's a little picture
no.
as like a woman helping another woman fix her crown. And that's how I think of you and Solange and a lot of the other women in my life. It's like you're the type of woman who would actually not judge me or look at me in a certain way, but would actually be like, your crown is a little to the side. Let me fix it for you. So like you go out and be your best. And I think I'm really lucky to have people like you. People,
Oh.
like a community of women who are can really see you, can really lift you up.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, it's the same feeling here that you have been, and you are a big part of my, life, my self transformation. Angel, this woman here, we went through the same coaching training program. Angel wants to become a life coach, and
Oh,
she will be a great.
okay.
Yes. And Solange, thank you for watching us. Solange also went through the same coaching training program. And you know what is the best about the training program is the people we met and the time we shared together and the stories and, the experience. So I'm very grateful for all of that and very grateful for you in my life, Mary.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Me too. It's an
Anything else you want to say?
Other than it, I love you. Thank you so much. And we could be doing this for another half hour, just telling how much we love each other and miss each other. So we won't.
Yes, we could. We could. Oh my God. Thank you. Mwah. Kisses to everybody. Go fix your, the woman in your life. So how you say that? Their crown, but from a gentle place, from a loving place. Don't go and say, "Hey, girlfriend, this looks bad." Don't judge your friends. That's not a good thing to do. So you can say anything coming from a place of love and compassion. So that ways we build each other up, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, lovely.
Oh, obrigada. Mwah.
Have a great day, everyone.
Ciao. Have a great day. Thank you, Sol.